Namaste and welcome in this broadcast about chapter 22 from the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And we have left it at stanza 14. So today we're going to continue with stanza 15. But first, I'm going to start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, beloved God, great saints, Jesus Christ, Mahavata Babaji, Lord Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shruteshwar, Paramahansa Yogananda, great saints and sages of all times, beloved friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda, we humbly bow to all of you. Help us and lead us with your highest wisdom. Help us to hear the whispers of your presence, to inspire us, to love more and strengthen our dedication, courage and determination. We are your children. Guide us and bless us. Om Shanti Shanti. Amen. So we have left it halfway, chapter 9 in the original Bhagavad Gita. And in this original Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, of course, chapter 22, in the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, it begins with a very powerful statement of Lord Krishna, because he says, "To you who have overcome the carping spirit, I now reveal the sublime mystery, the immanent and transcendent nature of God. Armed with this intuitive wisdom, you shall escape all evil." Well, the key here is when we have overcome the carping spirit, then Krishna can reveal to us the sublime mystery, which is the immanent and transcendent nature of God. That God is in us and all around us. And God can only be perceived if we have overcome the carping spirit. And the carping spirit means that this is a kind of, as Swami Kriyananda says it, mental sickness within us that consists of fault-finding, being critical, complaining, because this keeps us in a consciousness that is focused on what's wrong in the world. And that is what holds us back to perceiving God as immanent and transcendent. So we may be very grateful that Arjuna has overcome this carping spirit, so Krishna can reveal the sublime mystery to him. And we also have to take into consideration that it's not only Krishna that we have to attune ourselves to, but also to Arjuna. There are thousands and thousands of people involved in the story of the Bhagavad Gita, and of all those people, Krishna just picks out Arjuna. So, and while Arjuna is of course eager to learn, he still asks a lot of questions to know the why. And so it's a really good thing, because he is a reflection of us in our daily lives. And we should also think about how did even Arjuna get to this point where his divine friend, Lord Krishna, begins to share with him this wisdom and the carping spirits. How overcoming the carping spirits is, how can I open myself more to that reality that is all around and in me? Because it's such a natural tendency in us to always occupy ourselves with little fault-finding, judging others, and to complain. So last week I ended talking about that Krishna was talking about the immanent and transcendent nature of God, and that is the eternal spirit and that is very removed from this whole very creation, but at the same time, yet very individual, present in every atom and in every aspect of creation. And that is very contradictory. And so that makes us all find it perhaps a little bit challenging to know whether we have to seek God beyond creation, or do we have to get into creation to find God. And the goal of the spiritual path is that it leads to these states of perception that are beyond explanation. And Yogananda wrote his poem Samadhi. It's a poem that describes a state of union with God. And there is nothing else in mystical literature that can be compared with that description, because most of the time when any individual goes into that state, he can no longer explain what he is perceiving. And Yogananda said about this that it was a special dispensation of some kind given to him, so he could actually write the poem about Samadhi. And he said, while riding on the New York subway, which is very hard to imagine for us, he said he rode back and forth from one end of the line to the other end of the subway line. And no one ever asked for his ticket. And he said, and he added, actually no one even saw him. He never explained whether he was there in some astral form that could not be seen, or whether his state of consciousness was such that people simply couldn't see him because he made himself invisible. And Yogananda was able to go into that state because he changed his vibration. And this vibration was so different than the vibrations of the world around him that he could become invisible. And there is another story about this whole idea. It is in fact in autobiography of a yogi, and it is in the story about Babaji, where he is in the ashram of Lahiri Mahashaya, and at first Sri Yukteswar couldn't see him because, and then Yogananda writes, Babaji was hiding behind a sunbeam. So this tells that the masters can reveal themselves or not. And there is also a story about Ramakrishna. And he was a great avatar in the 19th century in India. And he lived right outside Calcutta. And he lived a very remarkable life. And from time to time, he went helpless into a state of samadhi. He could not do anything about it. It just would happen, and he would go into cosmic consciousness. And when his devotees wanted to take him to a certain festival nearby, he said, don't bother, it's not worthwhile to take me with you, because I will just go into samadhi because I will be so inspired, and I will not see anything of the festival. And Ramakrishna also wanted to describe the experience of samadhi to his devotees, but whenever he went into that state, he was not capable of saying anything about it to his devotees. He was just incapable of communication. So then we go on with stanza 13, chapter 9. Great souls, however, expressing in their human nature the highest qualities of divinity, pay undeviating homage to me, the imperishable source of all life. So we have to come to terms with our own nature in every day. So then we go on. Constantly absorbed in me, prostrating to me with love, steadfastly resolute in their high aspiration, They worship me with unceasing adoration. And most of the time we have this very narrow understanding of being absorbed, constantly being absorbed in God, because it does not mean it should happen in meditation only to be absorbed in God. It means to express Krishna. Only then he is flowing through us. And Ramakrishna, again, he said, he expressed it beautifully. He said, by just writing down the formula of water, H2O, it doesn't give you water. So just by writing down whatever the formula for any element is, it doesn't give you the element itself. So in the same way, when we are chanting God's name alone, it doesn't mean that God is actually flowing through us. But when we express him from our own being, then we can see Krishna everywhere. And we can relate to the world as talking to Krishna. And then alone, the devotee is giving Krishna to the world. And that is what absorption means. And he also says to us, prostrating to me with love. And we can do that mentally when we try to see Krishna in all and everyone in our life. And there is this beautiful story. It is an old folklore story from India. It tells the story about a little village, and in that village there lives a saint. And this saint is very devotional, and he's going into the temple every day, and he has a very deep relationship with Lord Krishna, because Krishna appears to him every day in visions. And so he felt, of course, he was just completely united with God in every possible way. And so he's very busy with his devotional duties in the temple. And in the village, there is also a potter. The man has a little shop and he makes clay pots. And he has also a number of disciples. And like a potter does, when they make a pot or a matka, they always step on it with their knuckles to hear the sound. And that's how they know whether the pot is well done or whether it still has some fissures or cracks in the pot. So this potter goes around his disciples and knocks them on their head and lets them know whether there is still a crack in the pot. So one day, during a religious gathering, this potter was going around his devotees' heads, and also the saint is there also with his disciples. And so the potter goes up to this saint and he knocks him on the head and he says, there is a crack in this pot. And the saint is becoming very angry with him because he's been treated like this in front of all his disciples. And he says to himself, how dare he do something to me like this? And he goes running off to the temple like a child, having been scolded. And so he's running back to the temple and he calls out for Krishna. And of course, the Lord appears again and he tells the Lord what has happened on the square. And Krishna tells to him, but he's right. There is a crack in this pot. There is still something missing in you. And this man says, but I am already having darshan of you. What more could there be missing? And Krishna says, you have to find your guru. There is still something missing inside you. And your guru is the only one who is able to give it to you. So that man, he goes out of the village and he gets the name of this man and he also gets some directions. There and there you have to search. And he's going to another village and he is asking around. And every time when he asks people, do you know where so-and-so lives? He gets some sniggering answer. And also people respond in amazement and saying, are you searching for that bum? And so finally the man is thinking, perhaps there is something wrong with this guy that I am searching. And finally he gets the right directions, and he finds this man sleeping, no less, in the temple, and he looks like a homeless person. He looks very shabby, and he has old clothes on, and he has put his feet on a shivlingam. And so this man is getting very angry, and he wakes him up and he says, "How dare you touch this shivlingam with your feet?" And this man says, "Well, it's like this. I'm just too tired. Could you please move my feet to where there is no shivlingam?" And so this man tries to move the feet of the other man, and suddenly another shivlingam appears at the spot where he wants to put the feet of this man. And this happens again and again, and no matter what he tries to do to move the feet away, and then finally he realizes, this man is my guru. And that was a final realization this man needed, which was God is everywhere, because he's not only in the temple. That's not the only place to have a direct connection with God. And this was the understanding this man needed. And this whole story also illustrates this misunderstanding in ourselves, that we get trapped in the idea that sense about saintly people, that they have to speak in a certain way, or that they have to behave and look in a certain way. And Krishna wants us to believe and to realize, I am everywhere. And when you are not being absorbed in me, then you are missing an important aspect of the divine. I'm just all around you, in you all the time. So, to be steadfast, resolute in our high aspirations, we worship him with an unceasing adoration. And that is how he wants us to be. That unceasing adoration for God, for Krishna, or whatever form you perceive your Ishtadeva. And then we come to stanza 15. Lesser beings also, offering me themselves with clear discrimination, discern me first in the manifested many, and then as the one behind the many. And with lesser beings, we need to view these words from the viewpoint of Lord Krishna. So that means people who have not attained a saintly level yet. And they can find him where the higher vibrations are. They have to go to a place where the consciousness is elevated. So we can go to an ashram, or we can go to a saintly person, or have satsang, so we can uplift our consciousness. 16. I am the sacrificial ritual. I am the sacrifice itself. I am the oblations offered to the ancestors. I am the medicinal herb. And then, I am the sacred mantras. I am the ghee, clarified butter, which is offered in ritual worship. I am also the fire and the very act of offering. So, in case we have not understood a single thing about what we have read before, Krishna makes it very clear to us. I am in the offering. So he's making it very tangible for us. So at least we can make a beginning to understand in a more abstract way. And then he says, I am in the ritual that you do. And he is giving us the example of the offering that we do in rituals, because what are we offering when we are practicing these rituals? We are offering ourselves in heightened attention, in high energy to the divine. We try to attune ourselves as much as we can to this higher reality, so we can start there. But when we have started there, we can also try to do this in every action, that we offer ourselves in every action to the divine. And that is what the chapter about karma yoga is all about, that we can view each action as having the potential to offer ourselves more and more to God in the thought that God is the doer, Krishna is the doer, and I am just a channel for it. And when we are able to stay focused on the act of inviting Krishna into everything that we do in our lives, when we drive our car, doing groceries, doing laundry and so on, but also when we talk to others, we can make spiritual progress because our daily tasks, encounters with others, our actions, those are rituals as well. Everything we do is a ritual. It's not for nothing that people talk about daily rituals and then they mean it in a worldly way, but it is exactly in the worldly rituals where Krishna wants to partake in. And that is something that we have to invite him into by opening our consciousness, our hearts to his presence within us in everything that we do. And this is a very valuable practice, especially for the more rational minds among us, because when we haven't learned to fully respect God in everything, because we have created separations, exceptions and distinctions, when we have that kind of mindset, we will always be separate from Krishna. Of this world, I am the father, mother, forefather, preserver. I am he who sanctifies. I am the object of all knowledge. I am the cosmic Om. I am the Lord of the three Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama. I am the ultimate goal, the upholder, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the one friend. I love that word, the one friend. I am the origin, the dissolution, the foundation, the cosmic storehouse, and the imperishable seed. I bestow heat, I send or withhold rain. Immortality am I, and mortality as well. I'm both being and non-being, Sat and Asat. In this last stanza, Krishna talks about immortality and mortality, being, non-being, and being, Sat and Asat. So again, he talks about the nature of duality. And we can ask ourselves, if Krishna is everywhere, then we could also easily choose for the not so enlightened path. But there is one big difference. When we choose to walk the path of goodness, divinity, Lord Krishna, is easier perceived, because in the upward flow of energy, the veils of Om get more transparent, and so higher truths are being revealed to us. And when we move away from truth towards the lower energies, the veils of Om are getting thicker and thicker, and then it's very difficult to perceive a higher reality. Those who follow Vedic or other rituals, cleansing themselves by the Soma rites, or worshipping me by prescribed yagyas, doing all these to win heaven, succeed in going there, and may attain the realm of Indra, Lord of the gods, where they enjoy the delights of heaven. And then verse 21, after enjoying those lofty regions for a time, and when the merits they have acquired that have brought them there have been exhausted, they return to earth. By following the scriptural regulations in their desire for celestial rewards, they endlessly repeat the cycle of ascent and return. So Krishna is here talking about celestial rewards. And they are the rewards being showered upon the person who is who has in his incarnation a good attitude towards life, towards people, and the world in general. And those are also the people who accomplish many good things in this world out of a responsibility towards people, helping the fellow humans, acting in charities or creating more environmental awareness, taking better care about Mother Earth, and that's making the world a better place. So this means that they go through life in obeying the rules of scripture, of dharma. So in this way, one can accomplish many things in life. So in this case, then they have done many good deeds. And of course, that's a good thing to do because those higher realities are easier perceived by the person who does good deeds. So it's good it's good to be good. But Krishna also urges us to not stop there. So, because he says, I lie beyond all that. And we can compare that with our breathing. We inhale and we exhale, we inhale and we exhale. But to really go beyond this imprisonment of the breath, that ever continuous cycle, we need to go into the Sushumna, to go beyond duality. And then Krishna continues. To those who meditate on me as their very own, their hearts ever united to me by incessant inward worship, I supply their deficiencies and make permanent their gains. Wonderful. This is one of the core stanzas of the whole Gita. It says it all, and what a promise. Because Krishna tells what is waiting for us when we stay steadfast in our devotion to him. But then we are with very good intentions, of course. We have them always. But then suddenly we get some idea and we say, okay, but let me first get this. And then there is another thing. And before we know it, we get all consumed by our desires again. Getting a partner, getting a career, good health. And before we know it, we lose track and we go sideways. And this shows that we still prefer the endless cycle of desire and eventually disappointment. And Swami Kriyananda says about this in the book, this whole behavior is triggered by a simple word, and that is called hope. Because as long as we have the hope that we can get fulfillment in the material world, that will work as a very powerful incentive to keep running after things and after people. And in stanza 22, Krishna gives us this simple but very impressive statement. Concentrate on me as your very own with continuous worship, and I will take care of the rest. And earlier on in chapter 9, he also gives us many statements that he can be perceived as the father, the mother, and in many other things. He gives us a way to perceive him in everyone and everything. And when he says to Arjuna, be thou a yogi, he means practice yoga. And yoga means union. So this means that Krishna says, practice unity. And we have to practice that, not only in our sadhana, but especially in day-to-day life to grow spiritually. Because so often there is something inside of us, a mismatch of energy that keeps us away from feeling united with other people. And to practice the consciousness of unity, we can use the words that Krishna used to describe himself. I am in everything and everyone. So Krishna is in me, but Krishna is also in you. So that means that I am also a part of you. And so we can practice. I am in you. I am you. Yes, you. And because in this way, we can start developing that consciousness of unity. Then we can make a beginning to perceive God not only in the Murti, but also in every aspect of our lives. And when we approach people with this silent affirmation, I am in you, I am you, then we also naturally have an increase of empathy for others. It helps us to understand the other. And out of that greater sense of unity, it helps us to understand from their center as well who they really are. And that is a wonderful tool to use in communication. I am in you. I am you. And we can extend it to everything around us. I am in my friend. I am in my partner, in my child, my colleagues, in the person who passes me by in the street, but also in the people that are challenging to be around. Krishna is in them as well. I am in you. I am you. This practice has the potential to change our consciousness, our perception of the world around us. And this may sound a little bit challenging, but give it a try and you will experience how this practice will work out for you.